Depression is an interesting experience because you can have two people in the same situation. One of them becomes depressed and the other one isn't. So that's why I was talking to you about how depression is such a like unique thing. Do not do not let anybody tell you you should not feel the way you feel. Your feelings are valid. I always told my coaching clients that your feelings are like indicators on the dashboard of a car. They're not supposed to be driving the car, but they are supposed to show you that something needs to be addressed. Okay? So if you feel the way you feel, that's how you feel, boo boo. That's it. And I'm here to tell you that's just how you feel. So if everyone in your world is telling you that's not how you're supposed to feel, or they had the same thing happen to them and they didn't feel that way, that's just how life is. Okay? Some people like Brussels sprouts and some people don't. That's just how it works. Okay? We're all individual human beings. Studies show, and this is the good news, studies actually show that you can learn skills and teach people skills to manage or overcome depression, even starting in their life, which is amazing. It is also much more common that if you grew up with parents that are depressed, you will be depressed. And it's not only a biological thing. Actually, if depression runs in your family, each generation experiences depression worse. And studies show it's less because of biology and it's more because somebody can't teach you what they don't know how to do, right? So if they've never modeled healthy coping skills, you didn't learn healthy coping skills, and now you out here double depressed. Okay, grandma was depressed, mama was double depressed, now you triple depressed, and you looking to end it all, right? Let me help you. Okay, first thing I do, this is so important. The first thing I do to manage my depression, you guys, is I validate that my depression is valid. This took me years to learn. Girl, let me talk right in the camera. Girl, you might be sad because you are in a sad situation. Often people who are depressed are beating themselves up because they can't figure out why it seems like everybody else is doing well, but they're not. It seems like everybody else is happy in this experience, but they're not. It seems like, girl, the first thing that I did to help manage my depression, my persistent low mood, was I started to realize that I was in depressing situations. And that's why I was depressed. So, for example, I told you guys I did a lot of work to understand that dissociation was my coping mechanism of choice. I was so dissociated that if you had asked me a few years ago if I had any trauma in my upbringing, I would have told you no, it was amazing. It was great. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And it turns out that that was a dissociative coping mechanism that I was using to not address the trauma that I experienced growing up. I was so traumatized that I had blocked it out of my brain. And I was only willing to look at the happy parts. And I magnified the happy parts and I almost like ignored the not happy parts. Like I checked out entirely. And that was some deep work in therapy. Because do you know how disorienting that is to realize that like you are not looking at a situation holistically? And because of that, you are beating yourself up about not fitting into a broken situation when what you actually were in and or may actually be in right now is a broken situation. Another good example of that is I told you guys I participated in Exodus Summit, and I don't know if you know anything about it, but it's like a movement of Black women who want to, live outside of the U.S. They want to live in different countries and work as a digital nomad. They want to, so it's a very free thinking group of women. Um, a lot of these women are learning that instead of beating themselves up for not being able to be happy in their job environment that they're in, maybe they're in a toxic job. Like, so that's the first thing. The first thing I started to do was I started to dismantle the idea that everything's fine and what's wrong with me. Maybe I am validly reacting to crappy situations. Maybe before my psychology even realized what was going on, my body and my soul had dragged me down, right? So that's the first thing. Start validating yourself. Um, I told you about someone who reached out to me recently and was like, "Aren't you the chick that talked about depression? Like, how in the world? Because I'm depressed right now and I don't understand how you're doing what you're doing." And listen, I get that from people all the time. And one of the things I offered to her was validation because she was describing a situation in her world. And I was like, I want you to look at it from this lens. You're describing a situation that is depressing. So you are not, nothing's wrong with you. You are having a valid reaction to the scenario that you're in. Therefore, that makes sense, right? So that's the first thing. Teaching myself to validate that I'm depressed and my depression is actually pointing out something to me. It's an indicator on the dashboard of life telling me, right? Something needs to be addressed, right? When your check engine light comes on your car, that tells you to check the engine. You should be like, when the depression light comes on my life, that tells me to check my life. If you think I'm talking right to you, I have a coaching membership, the Pineapple Crowns coaching membership for Black and West Indian women on a healing journey. Okay. If I sound like what I'm talking about is right to you, thepineapplecrowns.com, come and join me. There are links to other things that are wonderful gifts for you in the information box. Check them out. Amen. Be well, be encouraged. Okay. Keep healing, you guys. Here's your pineapple. Bye, y'all.